Welcome to our online marketing webinar series. Today we are very excited to have Jason Elkins from 100 Cups Consulting with us to give us an introduction to Instagram and Twitter. We are so thankful that you are all joining us today, and we are also thankful for the support provided by the USDA, National Institute of Food and Agriculture, and the Southern Risk Management Education Center for helping to make this series possible. At the end, to help us report the impact of this webinar and the series to these agencies, I will ask you to complete a very brief online evaluation. The link is in the email you received with the link to this session, and I'll also post it in the chat box at the end. We will leave our microphones on mute and video off during the session to lessen distractions and keep the stream going well. We would like you to locate the chat box and type your name and location and anything that might be relevant to Jason to use during the session. If you have something in particular you'd like to learn today, that would be great. And you can use that box to enter a question at any time during the session. We are recording the session and we'll post it online and Jason's slides or other materials that he may have. So you can view it again or share it with somebody else. And Jason, if you'd change to the second slide, we also want you to recognize that having some written goals can help you to be more successful in your businesses, and hope that you will jot down some goals of how you'd like to implement the information you learned during today's session as you go along. Check to see if we have any questions at this time. And if not, we will let Jason enlighten us about the mysteries of Instagram and Twitter.
Well, I am thrilled to talk to y'all about these topics. It's been interesting to watch Twitter. I've been doing coaching of this kind since 2010, and at that time or shortly after, Twitter would have been one of the lead platforms that I would discuss, and it really hasn't been like that over the last, I would say, 24 months or so, where other platforms have kind of taken precedence or taken a more of a front row to that. But it's been really interesting to see there's kind of been a resurgence of Twitter use recently, and I want to help make sure that I can help you kind of connect with that platform if that's something that would be valuable to you. So I wanted to go through a couple quick stats as we get started, then talk about a few features, and then get some specific about strategy. So we're going to go kind of macro and then micro as we walk through this. Some of the interesting things that I'm seeing now, there's 326 million tweets sent per month. So there is a massive use with this platform, even in a scenario where I would say Twitter has kind of fallen out of favor over time. It's been interesting to see that it's still getting a ton of use. 24% of adults in the United States are on Twitter, and this is the stat that really stuck out to me, and I think would be the most relevant stat for everyone listening here. 80% of Twitter users are affluent millennials. So I spend a lot of time talking to business owners who say, if I can connect to the millennials, that's where my market is. Those are the people that I want to connect with long term, and especially affluent millennials. So Twitter could possibly be your platform if that's something that you are interested in doing, connecting to those particular buyers. So, and the other interesting thing I noticed as I was building this presentation, it looks like there's some opportunity to use this platform where others are not. there's philosophies on using platforms that everybody's using. Like right now, Instagram seems to be kind of the hot commodity right now. But the fact that a lot of businesses are not using Twitter very well right now could be a good opportunity. And I think in the past, that's been because of the barrier of entry to get into Twitter. It's confusing. What are these hashtags? What's a retweet? How do I connect with my audience? Where now, because of some of the changes that have happened recently, it's a little bit easier. The barrier of entry has been lowered. So let's talk about that, just kind of the structure and the mechanics of Twitter. The used to be you had 140 characters to tell your story. Now you have 240 characters. So they've raised the amount of space that you can put in the Twitter box, so your tweets can be longer, which gives people a little bit more of a comfort to actually get in there and type. One of the challenges, again, in the beginning was trying to understand the lingo, the codes, so to speak, the way that people would shorten words and things was confusing. And that's why I think Twitter always attracted a certain type of person and kind of alienated others. So it's just complicated to use. It's not as complicated anymore. Your videos can be a little over 2 minutes long. If you'd like to upload a video to Twitter, you have 140 seconds. So an interesting strategy could be if you're doing any kind of long form videos, is maybe slicing out a couple minutes of that to use for Twitter. Each, just as an aside, each platform for social media has a different use. I think of YouTube as really a focus for to help with your search ranking. So having a video on YouTube with lots of description and keywords and some tags can help, and a good title can help you rank well. Twitter is more, does not serve that same purpose. It's not really going to help you with search. It may help you build better relationships. And also, if you think about it like a news feed, a lot of people use Twitter for their news. It would be great to be able to connect on Twitter and let people know when a certain product is coming out or when it's out, or if you're running a food truck, where the location is, or if you have an event coming up on a farm or in your business, to be able to announce that. And the other kind of alarming statistic that I wanted to share with you is the half-life. And what this means is that a tweet has about it's less than a half hour shelf life. So the people that are using Twitter most successfully are tweeting fairly often. And even when I looked at UT Knoxville's Twitter stream, I noticed that these two posts are an hour apart. One was sent 10 hours, one was sent 9 hours. When I was looking at the stream, also, there was about 6 or 7 others in that same kind of window. So over a course of about 6 hours or so, they had sent 6 tweets. And if you're on another platform like Facebook or Instagram, and you're putting something out every hour, your audience is going to get annoyed. Whereas on Twitter, you can really tell kind of comprehensive stories over time and share a lot of information, and that won't wear out your audience. So it's good news for people that have a lot to say and that enjoy this. It's kind of bad news if you want to use this platform. This is probably not something that you're going to send a tweet out every other day and have a lot of success with. Okay, so I just want to kind of get that right off the top, that if you're going to use this platform, this is something that you're going to want to think about in a broader scale, even as far as content is concerned, than Facebook or Instagram or other platforms. Okay. If we look at just how people are using this platform and what the responses are, a video on Twitter will get 10 times, up to 10 times more impressions and reach than a simple post will. So as you're making posts on Twitter, and if you want to have a comprehensive or good Twitter platform strategy, video could be a really helpful use simply because of how many more eyeballs a video receives. I think I mentioned this on our last discussion, even about email. If I handed you a DVD and I handed you a CD, you immediately put more weight on the DVD simply because we're attracted to video as a society right now. So think about this in those terms, where if you want to make a bigger punch on Twitter, having a video strategy for this platform can really help. Also, GIFs. I'm in the GIF for the G camp, not the GIF for the J camp. GIFs increase engagement significantly. So responses especially, but if you're using GIFs in your posts, you will see more engagement on Twitter to a significant amount. So I think the stat was 60% more impressions with a GIF than just a standard post. And there's, Twitter has that built in. It's pretty easy to use them. And people tend to get some enjoyment out of seeing, especially on a response scenario, a GIF post. Then this is the other thing I want you to consider. People are using this on their mobile device. So think about that in the way that you shoot your videos, and also be conscious of the story that you're telling, and be able to tell a comprehensive story in a couple minutes or less. So if you think about where are my people and they're using this on their phones, you wouldn't want to send them something that doesn't tell a story, like some just kind of a boring piece of content. However, behind the scenes content is fantastic. So something that you may consider kind of mundane, whether it's out, I know we got a bunch of different businesses represented, but if you're a winery and you show picking grapes, that could be a wonderful 2-minute video. Again, something that you would think is kind of mundane would be interesting to someone else. If you are packaging products up to be sold, that could be a wonderful 2-minute video or a minute-long video, and get some interesting engagement from that as well. A few more tips. I see a lot of Twitter profiles that are simply, it might say husband or wife. You might say there might be something about your faith and that you have kids or not. I really encourage you, if you have a Twitter profile, especially for your business, please fill out the whole thing. You've got characters that you can fill out there. You've got a link that you can add. You want to have a comprehensive Twitter profile, and also the cover photo should be, think of it like your drive-by window. So if you make soaps, you would want to have a picture of either the business storefront and soap, or you would want to have stacks of lovely soap. If I get the, and this isn't a comprehensive picture here on the UT Knoxville. I don't have the rest of it, but there's some logo over in the side here that kind of sets this up. But I want you to think about this as a drive-by window. You're going to get just a few seconds to kind of tell your story. So make sure your profile's filled out and the header, your cover photo, is comprehensive for your business. A really good strategy just starting out for Twitter is basically sharing information about your business or about your industry. Retweeting things. If you'll notice, the first tweet on this this post here from UT Knoxville is a retweet about Vol's help. So it looks like a ride and trivia sharing thing. I think that's kind of an interesting service that UT offers. But it's a retweet. So it's not even content that they made originally. So if you're in the sustainable farming industry, there's plenty of information out there that you could share about sustainable farming that would have nothing to do necessarily with your specific business, but it would give you some additional content to populate. And if you think about, you could tweet several times a day, maybe one or two of those could be a retweet. It'll save you some time. You'll just be looking for content that would be relevant to your audience. Also, there was a stat that I read that said 80% of Twitter users are expecting customer service to be a use that the businesses that they're doing business with use Twitter for. So make sure you're listening and responding. If someone tweets at you or mentions your business, make sure that you're responding. You wouldn't ignore a phone call coming in to your business. Don't ignore tweets that are sent to you either. Those are happening even more in public than a phone call would be. And I've seen a lot of businesses miss opportunities simply because they're ignoring that business. So something to seriously consider as you're talking about that. I see Chattanooga. Hello, and hello Riverbend Nurseries in Franklin, and Montgomery here as well. So this is a good group here we've got. On the, let's see, give me just a second. So let's talk strategy for a minute. Can you all see this chat box, or is it just me that's seeing this?
We can all see it.
Okay, move it there. Okay, so thanks, Megan. So let's talk specific strategy. When I was first getting involved in the business that I'm in now, I wanted to find my birds. So the concept of birds of a feather will flock together is really true on Twitter, and you can kind of create a community simply by following and interacting with the people that are meaningful to you in your industry. So I had this concept early on that I wanted to teach and talk about social marketing. I wanted to help businesses with their digital marketing platforms. So I went and I found a handful of people that were already doing that work in and around Nashville. And I called it the stalking strategy, and this in the most positive way to use the word stalking. So it was interesting. What I did is I just started communicating with those kind of groups of people and responding to the things that they talked about, sharing, retweeting things that they mentioned, and just having a dialogue with them on Twitter. And I just kind of inserted myself into that industry. So again, if you're a nursery and you want to be relevant on Twitter, you would follow the people on Twitter and you would interact with the people on Twitter that talk to maybe landscapers. You would talk to other people that would sell maybe a portion of what you are doing. So maybe garden product suppliers, lawn maintenance folks. Like, these are the people that you would discuss, talk to, follow, figure out what they're doing, where they're at, what the things that are interesting to them. And it's easy to insert yourself into those environments. A lot of times a new Twitter user, from a business standpoint, will just kind of listen for the first month or two, observe what people in their industry are talking about, and then slowly kind of start responding and kind of inserting yourself into some of those conversations. It's a way to build rapport. There are people that I have met first on Twitter that eventually became friends simply because of the relationships that we built. There was one person in particular that was kind of the rising star of the digital marketing community, and I wrote a blog called the Stalking Dave Delaney Strategy, and he had a comment in it, and we have become friends since then, and have shared speaking opportunities and things along those lines. So it was kind of interesting to see, simply by using Twitter, I was able to build that relationship. So I see looks like someone had a question.
Yes, Grant said, since Twitter has a 30-minute shelf life for a tweet, is there a sweet spot for time of day to post tweets?
Grant, wonderful question. And Megan, if you could kind of help screen those for me, that would be wonderful. Having a little trouble switching back and forth here.
Sure thing.
Uh, so, so I read up a lot about ideal times, and it was so specific. It was like 3 p.m. on Wednesday. Like that was like central, like whatever time zone you're in. That was an ideal time to catch people on Twitter. But what I've found is think about just kind of a daily, like meal times and the times that people are kind of interacting. So early morning, midday, and later evening seem to be the times that I'm like my personal use and my business use and my business clients' use are getting activity for different crowds depending on the time that they're posting. So the answer is post when you have something relevant to say, and your audience will tell you over time whether that works or not. We're not going to cover it in this slide, but I can follow up with you with an email if you'd like on kind of times and way to track that in the analytics on Twitter. One of the beautiful things about digital marketing versus road sign or even radio to some degree is that you can, like your audience will tell you when they want to hear from you. So a really good question. I like to think about it from like a business cycle standpoint. There are things that I try to knock out first thing in the morning, and then there are things that I check in on, like email, maybe mid to late day. I would think about your Twitter in similar ways. You can be consistent. You can talk to your specific audiences, and over time, you'll kind of find a flow, and you'll find the audience that you need based on that. I think that's kind of a long answer to say, there's stats that say a certain period of time, but it's really going to be every audience is a little bit different, and you'll find over time when the best time to post would be. I hope that helps. Hashtag, the hashtag. So if you're new to Twitter, or if you're not new to Twitter, you're at least familiar with the term hashtag. And if you look at this post from Frosty Blue Farms, you'll notice that they have hashtags Florida, Blueberry, farm to table. And you'll notice that farm to table is highlighted. That's the one that I actually clicked. So I went and typed farm to table, hashtag farm to table on Twitter. And what that does when I type that and then click on it is it shows me everything that's been posted with the hashtag farm to table in real time on Twitter. So for my local clients, I tell them to go very specific micro and also do some macro. So this also has the word Florida. Well, that's not specific to farming or farm to table, but they're trying to capture some people that are just interested in what's happening in Florida during this time at this time right now. And then they're going very specific. Someone that's looking for farm to table, they would be able to find this specific type of post. So anybody can make up a hashtag. Some people use them as kind of some levity. So you might post something like, it's Monday morning, hashtag need coffee. That hashtag is really just kind of extending that story, but it's not really helping you from a visibility standpoint. I want you to think of hashtags like keywords from a search standpoint, and use some macro like Florida or Blueberry, and then also micro like farm to table. So that's very, very specific, or actually blueberries would be a very specific thing. This would be somebody looking for blueberries. So your tweets that have hashtags have a tendency to draw more followers in, because you're getting people that are just clicking on a hashtag to see what's happening in that environment. And if there's more questions about hashtags, I'm happy to answer those. There's also a process, kind of an event called a tweet chat that I have run and seen done very successfully on Twitter. So let's say that you are in, again, I'm picking on the nursery here, but let's say that you run a nursery. You could have a tweet chat for an hour on the best time to plant new trees in your yard. And what that tweet chat would be is you would come up with your own hashtag. So maybe that hashtag would be tree plant time. And anybody that wants to interact with you would simply use that hashtag. And there are some third-party platforms that you could have a discussion about the specific topic. And the idea here is to build an audience, interact with people, but it really shows that you're an expert or an authority in a specific field. So I wanted to at least mention that this is maybe a second level strategy, but I wanted to at least mention that there's a way to communicate with a group of people at one time on a topic. I don't know if you've participated in these or have seen these tweet chats. There's actually a website called Tweet Chat that you can enter that hashtag in, and it'll put the hashtag on every tweet that you send as you're sending them out. So that's something to keep in mind as you want to have a longer form discussions on Twitter. So one thing that I want to mention to you, we're going to talk about schedulers, and from a time standpoint, this could help you. Like you could spend Sunday afternoon for an hour typing in a bunch of your tweets for the week. If you have events coming up or have information that you want to share, pictures, links, even retweets, you can build that up in some schedulers. Buffer is a really good one. It feels to me like Buffer was made by a marketing person. It's a pretty simple platform to use, and I'm putting myself in that category. I like simple. Hootsuite is another one. It feels like it was built by a developer. It's a little bit complex, a little more complicated, but also has a lot of features for some expanded use. So I want to give a caveat that schedulers can be really helpful from a time standpoint. They're not quite as good for building relationships, simply because I've seen people use them, schedule out everything, and then never come back in to check on what's happening. So if you're going to use a scheduler, pay attention to people that are responding to you and make sure that you're talking to them as well. That's the danger. And the other danger of a scheduler is that Twitter will not make them quite as prominent. There's some degradation of prominence when you're posting using a scheduler because Twitter is trying to give the best experience to your users, and they know that this isn't quote unquote real time. So just if you're going to use them as part of your strategy, not the only strategy. The other interesting thing about Buffer is you can add an extension to Chrome if you use Chrome, and as you're reading articles or seeing something that's interesting on a website, you can actually schedule that with a couple clicks, and so that you're able to kind of, again, maximize time. So if I'm reading an article and I click this extension, it'll just pop this in, and then I can choose Twitter or Instagram or whatever platform I have connected to Buffer and schedule it out for a different part of the day. So there are things that I really like about Buffer. The other thing is it keeps pretty good analytics. So if you're using the paid account, which is only like $10 or $15 a month, and you can go back and look and see which tweets had the most impact and reschedule those, or it's called rebuffer those, to go out at a different time later in the week or the month or whatnot. So as an example, I went back and looked at a bunch of blog posts that I had written, and I was able to see there were certain ones that resonated more with my audience. So I was able to just kind of reschedule those to go out, once or twice a month to my audience. And I wouldn't have had that data or wouldn't have known that in any other way, really. So we're going to dive into this, what the screens actually look like on Buffer, just for a second. and it's buffer is free also for a couple profiles, so it's something that you can test without having to spend any money. This is just a screen. I go to Buffer, I connect my profiles, and then I click a button and I can type in this information here, and you'll notice that the post schedule below, I click that button and all of a sudden I have a calendar and I can schedule that out at a different time in the future. And it also, you'll notice in the bottom right corner, there's how many characters I've used already. So it's really kind of helpful for, again, even on the, as you're composing your tweets or information, they make it super simple for you to do that and then schedule those to go out. Any questions about schedulers? In the beginning of talking to people about Twitter, everybody, the only thing they were concerned about business-wise was how do I save the most time and use these platforms? And then schedulers were really big, and then they kind of went out of favor because people found out that Twitter downgraded those posts slightly. But I think there's some happy medium here where you could have, if you know you have an event or a new launch or your hours or some basic information that is not going to change, and you want to put that out and you want to schedule that, go ahead, just make sure you're paying attention. Okay, so this is some stuff that I want to share with you that a lot of people are maybe unaware of with Twitter. One of my favorite features is lists. So what lists do is they allow you to build up a group of people that you're following and only see their content. So there are times that I don't want any information except I just want to see what's up with the news. So I've got a local news list, and I click that, and the only tweets that I'll see are current like local news stories. I've got a past or present customers list that I can look at, and if I just want to kind of peek in on what my past or current clients are using Twitter for, it's really good for me to respond and make sure that I'm talking to those folks. And it also alerts me if there's something coming up that I might be able to help them with. It's a way for me to really pay attention to my customers. I kind of separate out some friends as well, whether they're Nashville or maybe they're marketing and social media people. So this is a way for me to jump into Twitter, open up a list, select just that list, and just see the tweets in that list. And it's pretty easy to add or remove people from these lists. And another thing that I don't want you to miss is you can also see, so you'll notice that this is the ones I'm subscribed to is on the left-hand side here. If I click member of, these are lists that people have added me to. So I can look at this and go, oh, digital marketing on Instagram, digital marketing rock star, but they didn't spell it out all the way, whatever. I'm happy to be in this group. So I was able to look and see, is the content that I'm putting out giving the message that I want to give? And after a while and looking at these lists that people were adding me to, I knew that I was having some resonance. It took me a while to kind of figure out what that, how to tweet to get my profile connected to the people that I wanted to be connected to. But this is kind of a way for you to tell. See if as you're tweeting, it's a good way to just kind of jump in and see what lists people are adding you to. Okay. So the other interesting thing about this is you can create a list specifically for an event that you're at or people that you may have met at an event. You can also make these lists public or private. The other thing you could do is go to other profiles in your industry and look at the lists of people that they have categorized. So if you're looking for more information, you could search some lists to find out more info and maybe connect with some of those people as well. So I don't want you to miss the kind of the power of having these lists out there. And again, it's something that not a lot of people talk about or use, but I think it's a super powerful piece of Twitter. I'm just going to mention retweet quickly. All that is doing is You're just sharing information from somebody else. So when you retweet a tweet, it basically sends that information to your followers. And I want you to be conscious of the fact that people say, well, this is not necessarily an endorsement. I will tell you that the world views it as an endorsement. So if you share something, make sure that you're sharing something that you would have felt comfortable saying or typing anyway. Just a little bit of a tip on how people are perceiving this. And then I wanted to mention content development simply because you can use a site, and I'm going to mention this site to you. I think I mentioned it last time as well. There's a website called Canva, CANVA, V as in Victor, .com, where you can actually go and build some pretty pictures, and graphics are already laid out really well for you if you have an event, or you need a newsletter done, or you have an award that you want to give, or you just want to have some pretty designs for your social media with graphics and text already laid out for you. Maybe you're just swapping a picture or two. Canva is a really good platform for content development for social media, including Twitter. All right, we're going to jump into Instagram. If there's any questions, any other questions about Twitter, our time is limited, and this is really an intro class. I wanted to give you some kind of micro and macro stuff on Twitter, but if you have other questions, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, we're just going to go ahead and jump in, and Megan, if there's other questions that people post in there, just please let me know. The difference between Instagram and, let's say, another visual platform like Facebook is that on Facebook, it's really quantity over quality really on Facebook. So if I have a post with 10 pictures, that's going to get more interaction than a post with one picture on Facebook. However, on Instagram, it's really important to have beautiful photos. So the origin of Instagram, a couple gentlemen started this company, and they were one of them was vacationing in Hawaii with his wife after the first launch, and he was talking to her about oh, you're going to use the new platform, right, to post some of your pictures? And she said, yes, but your photos always look better than mine. That was the start of filters for Instagram. So this kind of origin story, he went back and they created these filters. Instagram really is a platform. Just make sure the background is clean. You can add a filter to make anything look amazing. So be thinking about that as you're using Instagram. Also, Instagram is one of the few platforms that is skewing both older and younger. So most social media platforms have a main demographic. Instagram is unique in that it does not. It is skewing both for older and younger folks. So keep that in mind. I am a big fan of Instagram for businesses, and you'll see why as we kind of walk through some of this as well. So beautiful pictures rule the day on Instagram. The link strategy is a little different here. You can't add a link in the comment section of an Instagram post, and that's active where people can click on it and go anywhere. So as you post a picture on Instagram and you want people to interact with it or do something, you need to tell them the link is in the profile. And then you go back to your profile and you can change the link in the profile. People do this. Sometimes they're changing them every other day if they have different types of products that they're selling, or if they have an event that they're pushing for, maybe it's once a month. But the link strategy is really important on Instagram because they don't have the links and comments are not hyperactive. So you need to make sure, or hyperlinks. So you need to make sure that you're telling people that the link to do whatever you want them to do is in the profile. There's a few exceptions we'll get into, but right now that's the concept that I want you to have. Same thing with hashtags, just like Twitter. Instagram is a platform that uses hashtags as keywords, and I would really encourage you to go macro and micro there as well. You get a few, maybe if you're going to use 4 or 5 hashtags, get a few that are very general in your industry, and then a few that are very specific. And then we're also going to be talking about stories as well. So let's jump in and look at a few of the stats here. This number is just blowing my mind. 72% of teens in the U.S. are using Instagram and claim it to be one of their main reasons for or main social media platforms. And a large chunk of those are millennials. 35% of adults are on Instagram. That's worldwide. 28% of those are in the U.S. And this stat, some of us would admit to this, some wouldn't. 38% check Instagram multiple times a day. So again, from a standpoint of content, the people that I see winning in the content game or content marketing are the ones that have the most content, just hands down. I have a friend that has a very, very successful business teaching people how to use LinkedIn. And when I go to LinkedIn, I always see his content every single time. It seems like it's the first one. He posts at least once a day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day on LinkedIn. And again, that's really his business. And I get that you have a business to run, but it's something to consider. Right now, more content is going to help you connect with more people. This the stat about story use is kind of insane to me. 500 million people are using stories, and there's an 80% growth year over year for video. So more people are viewing video and more people are posting videos. And Instagram is the engagement king right now for social media. They have 2.2% engagement, which sounds ridiculously low. But if you consider that Facebook is 0.22%, that'll kind of give you an idea on how much more people engage on Instagram than on Twitter. So again, if I'm picking a platform, if I'm just starting a business and I can tell some backstory and give some how-tos and have people see things kind of grow from a concept to a product, over time, Instagram can be extremely, extremely powerful. That would be the social media platform that I would go to. Let's talk about hashtags for a minute. There's a organization, the Portland Chamber of Commerce in Portland, Tennessee, is a client. I do some work with those folks there. Every year they have a Strawberry Festival, and we were looking at which hashtag to use for the Strawberry Festival. And when we did the research, it was hands down. And that's the one nice thing about Instagram is actually they'll tell you by doing a test like this, which hashtags have the most impressions. So we were able to look at their hashtags and go, oh, so Strawberry Fest has like 12% of the posts that Strawberry Festival would have. Let's use Strawberry Festival. Now, we can still use some of these others, but we know that Strawberry Festival is going to be the main hashtag that people use, even more than a specific with the date or the year of that. So if you're trying to figure out which hashtags are most beneficial for you, and you're looking to capture the largest set of eyeballs, you can use Instagram and actually go into the search area at the top, and it will tell you which hashtags have the biggest impact. There's this is kind of interesting, and I thought fit well within our environment here. I looked at, I was looking for sustainable farming and some different hashtags, and I found this photo here, and it really kind of tells a story. Even just the single photo tells a story about radishes and this planting environment. Is there a question, Megan?
Nope, no questions.
Okay, I thought that was interesting. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of these. So just by searching some specific hashtags, I was able to find industries or organizations that were in the environment that we're talking about now. Here's one. They use hashtags even in their profile, which I thought was an interesting strategy. PicTN, I think, is the one that I was looking for here. And I was able to find this farm that's using them, and actually they got a follow from me. So hashtags even in your Instagram profile, you'll notice that people are filling out their entire profile here, which I really like to see. And you only have an option for one link. So I think of Instagram like Facebook without all the noise. It's a very visual, simple, interactive platform with one link to interact with. Okay, we're going to talk about stories for a minute. Stories can be a little complex. I'd be interested to know if any of our users are using stories or if they're watching stories. The stories appear at the top of an Instagram feed and are pictures or short videos, 10 seconds or less. And you would think that this wouldn't be interactive or all that interesting. And what Instagram has found is that the engagement level for stories is very high. That's why they literally stole the technology from Snapchat. And stories can really engage and really draw an audience in to what you're doing. So it's challenging because you either have to be using your phone while you're working to record bits and pieces of what you're working on, or you have to be a really good planner and also a pretty good content creator to create these 10-second videos and images. I'm going to show you an example of one that I thought was really well done. And then when I looked at how many followers and how long they've been around, the follower count on this vegan bowls is significantly large. They have 1.3 million followers. But the reason I'm showing you this is as I'm witnessing what they're doing, they're using stories very, very well. So let's kind of look at what those look like. So if I'm on my phone and I click on their profile picture at the top right, it pulls up another screen on my phone. You'll notice at the very top of each one of these pictures, there's little dashes. And those dashes are the time that these pictures will be live on Instagram. So they're basically, it's like a little mini countdown. So there's a street fair here that Coconut Bowls, or these this vegan bowls was promoting it, and it looks like they found lovely people and they had a good camera, and they took these photos. And they also, one of the cool features as you're building these stories is you can geo-target. So there's Los Angeles, California. You can add, you can @ people, so you can basically tag other folks. You'll see they tagged Vegan Street Fair. They tagged Coconut Bowls in these pictures. And so there's some additional information that you put in there. And it was really interesting to me when I started using this, how many other people would see this content. And Instagram will actually feature some of these pieces of content, and they'll basically put these in stories that I might be interested in, or profiles that I might be interested in following. So as you're using stories, you actually get rewarded from Instagram for doing that. So you'll notice, and what I try to do is put these in order, so there's like a countdown on each one of these to go to the next thing. And you'll notice that near the end, they actually have some other products that they are selling. I want you to look at the second picture from the top left. So this gal is holding 2 bowls, and there's a pop-up that came up that said tap to view product. If you go to that, if you tap that screen, it actually takes you to another screen within Instagram that you can view on that website with a price, and click one more time and actually go to buy that product. So the one-click buy options are coming to Instagram, and you have to have 1,000 followers, 1,000 people that have liked your profile for this for this to have this feature, but it used to be 100,000, then it was 10,000, then it was 1,000. I think that number is going to continue to come down. And if you spend a little money on advertising, you could probably, and you're using Instagram regularly, you could probably get 1,000 people following you without too much trouble or spending too much money. I love this feature. The fact that somebody could be watching a story and you could see they posted 1, 2, 3, 4, like 6 or 7 stories, and several of them had links to buy. That's a pretty powerful experience on an iPhone or an Android phone, to be able to sample something or see something that you're interested in and order that product right in that moment. So I don't want you to miss the power of Instagram, and they're going to continue to add these features as well. So if I'm in a scenario where I have products that I'm selling, and especially if there's multiple products, I know a lot of you have, if you have a winery or a nursery or whatever the business is, you may have multiple things that you're selling, then you'd want to be able to have access for people to click on something that they're interested in, buy it right there because they saw a beautiful picture with your product. So don't miss that. That's coming on. It's coming on Instagram for the rest of us. The other thing I wanted to mention is live TV, as well as what's called IGTV, Instagram TV. And this, if you go to a profile and you see Instagram TV in a profile and you click on that, basically you can upload a long form video there. And I just want you to have that as a concept that you can reuse. If you have one video that shows, I'm going to pick on a winery for a second. Let's say that you have a video that's showing the wine making process. You could have that same video, you put it on YouTube for search, you put it on Facebook for your followers there, but you can launch it on Instagram TV and it'll be there. It'll stay there forever. People can watch that. You could throw it in your stories in 10-second increments. You could post it as a post that has to be a minute or less. But then you can also upload the entire thing to IGTV, and it'll be there forever. So people are missing. These are just some of the little used features on Instagram that I think can be very powerful, especially for a visual business. And many of you are in highly visual businesses. That's kind of the overview. And again, this is really high level, and I did want to drive down into some strategy. I'm open for questions for this. We got a few minutes left here. I'm open this up for questions, and if you even want me to take a look at a specific profile, I can do that live as well.
Absolutely. Does anybody have any questions for Jason on Twitter or Instagram? I know there's a lot more with these that I need to dig into and dip my toe into using these platforms. Looks like there's some good potential here.
Yeah, it's interesting. I really think in the movement that is kind of this healthy living movement that we're in, and I'm categorizing a little bit, or I'm generalizing a little bit, but that seems to be many organizations and many kind of groups are being able to assemble on Instagram, and there's an audience that's ripe for that on Instagram as well.
We have a couple of questions that have come in. How do we upload a video onto IGTV?
Great question. I'm opening my profile. So if you go to Instagram your Instagram profile, and you click on the home button, the icon to the right of the Instagram logo, the word Instagram, looks like a little TV. And if you click on that and click on the wheel on the bottom right of that, it says create channel.
Okay, so you create your own channel similar to what you would have in YouTube.
That's exactly right. And says share longer videos, and it tells you, it even reminds you that this is built for vertical. So that's one thing that I've seen someone try to take their content and repurpose it, and they shot it landscape like a normal person would. Like, we all like to watch videos in landscape, and now they don't quite fit in the vertical segment. But that's certainly something that you can repurpose a video that way, or maybe take a snippet of that. But that's how you do that. You actually build your channel first, and then you're able to upload on Instagram. And you're going to want to use your phone, so you may need to connect it to a Dropbox account or a Google Drive account, or some account where you can actually hold a video. If it's shot on your phone, obviously that's easy, but to get that content to your phone sometimes can be a pain. So that's why using something like Dropbox to upload that on your computer, and then you're able to move that over to your cell phone would be the best way to do that.
Great. We have another question. Is it advisable to have personal profiles on these platforms that are separate from a business profile?
So that is a great question. I get that a lot. I have, because of the business that I'm in, I feel like I'm giving up some anonymity personally to use the platforms in a way that I can grow my business. So if you're a farm, it's an easy decision, right? Because it's just the name of the farm. If you're a person and you represent a farm and you already have a following, it would be attractive to you to maybe use your own page for business. And if that's really what you're there for, that's fine. I've seen other people create multiple platforms, and Instagram didn't used to be this way, but they make it easy for you now. You can just switch back and forth on your phone. I think it's so hard to maintain even one or two platforms really well. I'm highly aware, even when I'm coaching people on this type of work, that I tend to maintain one platform. It is Jason Elkins. It's my name, the Jason Elkins, but I use it for business. And I've also changed that into a business account. There's both personal accounts and business accounts. The difference is this: you have access to the ad network with a business account. So if I am wanting to run a campaign, an ad campaign on Instagram, I have the same access, because Facebook owns Instagram. I have the same access to the user base that Facebook does. I can even build an ad in Facebook, and it's one click to put that ad on Instagram if I'm connected to a business account. So I hope that helps. This is a question. It comes up a lot, and I am very strategic with what I post, even on my personal page. I only really talk about 4 things. It's marketing, it's family, it's coffee, it's social media. Like, I'm very specific about the types of things that I post on my personal page. It's just easy for me to do that. And if I love Americana music, and I used to post about music, my audience didn't care about my feelings about music, so I stopped doing that. And that is now a text group with a few friends of mine, and we share music stuff there. So I really use social media as a way to market my brand and my business, and therefore, for me, I just view it all as one. I hope that helps.
Great. Any other questions for Jason?
If anybody wants a copy of this, you've got this recorded, right? But if anybody wants a copy, I'm happy to send it to you, Megan. You can send
Yes,
it out
if you would, we will post the slides to our website along with the link to the recording and any other resources that you have. We'd be glad to link there. That'd be wonderful. Jason,
Great.
we appreciate you so much for your time and your expertise being with us today. And we thank all of our participants for being here. Please take a minute to submit that brief evaluation to us online. We'd really appreciate that. And we look forward to seeing you next month, where the topic is social customer service. And we'll have,
it's going to be fun.
Yes. I'm really excited about that topic. Our friend Sarah from Penn State University will be back to discuss that with us.
Well, I really appreciate the time today, and if I can ever help, just let me know. Connect with me on Instagram or Twitter.
Perfect. Thanks. Have a great day.
Thanks, Megan.